The Emergency Council chamber had never seen such fear. Ambassador Keel Ren of the Zephyrian Republic stood before the assembled delegates, his blue skin pale with terror. Water droplets fell from his gills as he struggled to speak clearly through the translation device. "They have taken 7 more worlds," he said, his voice shaking. "The devourers move through our space like death itself. Nothing stops them. Nothing slows them down." The chamber fell silent. Representatives from 43 different species sat in their specialized seats, each designed for their unique biology. But today biology did not matter. Today they all shared the same fear. Elder Vex 9 of the Synthetic Alliance processed the data streams flowing across his optical sensors. "Calculations complete," he announced in his mechanical voice. "At current consumption rates, the devourers will consume all inhabited worlds in this sector within 2 standard cycles." A low moan came from the gastropod delegate. Her translator crackled as she spoke. "My people have already begun evacuation protocols. But where can we go? They are everywhere." Keel Ren activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Red dots spread across the star map like a disease. Each dot marked a world consumed by the devourers. Green dots showed worlds still fighting. The green dots were becoming fewer every day. "Look at this," Keel Ren said, pointing to a section of space. "The hegemony sent their best fleet here. 12,000 ships. The devourers destroyed them in 6 hours. The machines did not even slow down." The avian representative, Screetal, ruffled her feathers nervously. "What about the Titan Corps? They have the biggest weapons in known space." "Gone," Keel Ren replied simply. "The Titans made their last stand at Kepler 442. The planet is now a hollow shell. The devourers stripped away everything, even the atmosphere." Fear filled the chamber like a living thing. These beings had built the greatest civilization in galactic history. They had ended wars, cured diseases, and brought peace to 1,000 worlds. Now they faced something that cared nothing for their achievements. The Neural Collective spoke next. Their group mind voice echoed strangely. "We have searched all databases. No weapon in our records can damage devourer technology. Their adaptive shields learn from every attack. Their hull materials rebuild faster than we can destroy them. Then we are lost," whispered the crystalline delegate. Light flickered sadly through her transparent body. Keel Ren raised his hand for attention. "Not yet. There is one possibility. The Survey Corps discovered a new species last cycle. They call themselves humans. They come from a world called Earth." Elder Vex 9's sensors focused on the display. "Earth is in the outer rim. A primitive system. What could they possibly offer?" Keel Ren hesitated. "They are different." The Survey Corps reported unusual characteristics. "They are very young as a species, but they have already developed weapons of mass destruction. They fight constantly among themselves. The reports suggest they are extremely violent." The gastropod delegate made a sound of disgust. "Barbarians. How could savages help us where the greatest minds have failed?" "Because," said a new voice from the chamber entrance, "sometimes the galaxy needs monsters." All heads turned to see who had spoken. A figure in a strange, angular suit of armor walked into the chamber. The being moved with purpose, its face hidden behind a reflective helmet. It carried what was clearly a weapon, though its design was unfamiliar. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet," the figure said, removing her helmet. The delegate stared at the human face. It was not particularly frightening, but something in the eyes made several species uncomfortable. "We received your message." Keel Ren found his voice first. "Admiral, we are grateful for your response. But I must ask, how many ships did you bring?" Chen smiled, but the expression did not reach her eyes. 47 vessels. "I know that seems small compared to the fleets you have lost. But my ships were not built for exploration or trade. They were built for war." The Neural Collective processed this information. "Your species has only 47 ships capable of interstellar travel." "No," Chen replied. "We have thousands of ships. But I only brought the ones designed to kill things efficiently." The chamber filled with uneasy murmurs. The concept of designing ships purely for destruction seemed alien to most of the delegates. Elder Vex 9 accessed human records transmitted by the Survey Corps. "Admiral Chen, our data suggests your species has never fought anything more advanced than yourselves. The devourers possess technology beyond your understanding." Chen walked to the holographic display and studied the red dots. "Maybe, but I see patterns here. This spread pattern, the timing of attacks, the target selection. You know what this looks like to me? Enlighten us, said Skrital. It looks like a hunting strategy. And humans know a lot about hunting. Chen pointed to several red dots. They hit the strongest targets first to eliminate resistance. Then they consume the weaker worlds at leisure. Classic predator behavior. Keelren felt a strange chill. You speak as if you understand them. Chen turned to face the assembled delegates. I understand killers. My species has been killing each other for our entire history. We have studied every possible way to destroy our enemies. We have built weapons that could end all life on our world. We know how to fight dirty, how to fight without honor, and how to fight when there is no hope. The crystalline delegate flickered nervously. Admiral, are you saying your people are as dangerous as the devourers? No, Chen said quietly. We are more dangerous. The devourers are machines following programming. We are thinking killers who learn from every battle. We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up. The chamber fell silent again. The delegates looked at each other with growing uncertainty. They had called for saviors, but what had answered their call? Keelren made the decision for all of them. Admiral Chen, will you help us fight the devourers? Chen put her helmet back on. We are already on our way to the front lines. But I want you all to understand something. When humans fight, we do not fight clean. We do not fight fair. We fight to win no matter what it costs. She turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and one more thing. When this is over, the galaxy's going to be a different place. You called for monsters to save you from monsters. Just remember that when you wonder what comes next. Admiral Chen walked out of the chamber, leaving the delegates in stunned silence. They had asked for salvation, but they were beginning to understand they might have gotten something else entirely. Outside, human ships moved through the dark spaces between stars. They carried weapons built from centuries of warfare and soldiers who knew only how to kill. The galaxy would soon learn what it meant to unleash humanity upon its enemies. The devourers had consumed worlds without mercy. Now they would face a species that had learned mercy was often a luxury it could not afford. The human military base on Zephyr Prime looked like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Instead of the clean, curved architecture favored by galactic civilization, the humans had built harsh, rectangular structures from metal and concrete. Guard towers stood at the corners, topped with weapons that tracked movement automatically. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked through the captured devourer specimens with an expression that made the Zephyrian scientists deeply uncomfortable. She moved between the mechanical corpses like a farmer inspecting livestock, occasionally taking samples with tools that looked more like torture devices than scientific instruments. Fascinating construction, she said to Dr. Zil Moore, the lead Zephyrian researcher. The neural pathways use quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across the hive mind. Very efficient. Zilmore's gills fluttered nervously. Dr. Vasquez, we have been studying these creatures for 3 cycles. We can barely understand their basic functions. How do you learn so much so quickly? Elena smiled as she cracked open a devourer's processing unit with a device that looked suspiciously like a crowbar. Experience. Humans have been taking apart our enemies for thousands of years. We know how to find weaknesses. In another section of the base, Captain Marcus Webb studied tactical displays with a group of alien military advisors. The aliens had provided detailed reports of every battle against the devourers. Every defeat, every failed strategy, every moment of horror was documented in painful detail. You keep attacking them head on, Marcus said, shaking his head. That is exactly what they want you to do. Commander Velkas of the Hegemony Defense Forces bristled. We fought with honor. We followed established military doctrine. You fought like they expected you to fight, Marcus replied. Look at this pattern. Every time you used conventional tactics, they adapted within minutes. Their hive mind shared the experience across the entire fleet. The alien officers gathered around the holographic display. Marcus pointed to a series of red markers indicating devourer victories. Here, you sent in your heaviest battleships first. The devourers learned how to counter your main weapons and shield systems. Here you tried a flanking maneuver. They immediately adjusted their formations to prevent flanking. Every time you did what military sense said to do, you taught them how to beat you. Elder Vex 9 of the Synthetic Alliance processed this information. Captain Webb, what would you suggest instead? Marcus grinned, and several aliens noticed how the expression made him look predatory. We do not give them what they expect. We lie to them, we cheat. We make them think we are doing one thing while we do something completely different. In the research labs, Elena was explaining human military philosophy to increasingly disturbed alien scientists. She held up a devourer communication node, its circuits still sparking weakly. "The beautiful thing about this design," she said, "is that the same system that makes them so efficient also makes them vulnerable. The hive mind shares everything instantly. That means if we can fool part of the network, we can fool all of it." Dr. Zillmore watched Elena connect the node to a human computer system. "What are you doing?" "Learning their language," Elena said simply. "If we can understand how they communicate, we can lie to them. Feed them false information. Make them fight shadows while we hit them where they do not expect it." The computer screen filled with alien symbols and mathematical equations. Elena studied the patterns with the same intensity her ancestors had once used to decode enemy communications during Earth's many wars. "Dr. Vasquez," said Professor Keeltep of the Academic Consortium, "this approach seems very ruthless. Are you not concerned about the ethical implications of deception in warfare?" Elena looked up from her work with a puzzled expression. "Ethical implications? Professor, the devourers have consumed billions of lives. They show no mercy, no compassion, no restraint. You want me to fight them ethically?" The alien scientists exchanged uncomfortable glances. They were beginning to understand that humans viewed war differently than the rest of the galaxy. Meanwhile, in the command center, Marcus was showing the alien commanders recordings of human military history. The screens displayed images of ancient battles, guerrilla warfare, and siege tactics developed over millennia of conflict. "This is the Battle of Thermopylae," Marcus explained, as the display showed 300 warriors holding off a massive army. 300 soldiers stopped an empire by choosing the right ground and refusing to fight the way their enemies expected. "And this," he continued, switching to another scene, "is the Tet Offensive. A smaller force convinced a superior enemy that victory was impossible by attacking where they felt safe." Commander Velka studied the images with growing unease. "Captain Webb, these tactics involve significant deception and psychological manipulation." "Yes," Marcus agreed cheerfully. "That is the point. War is not about being fair. War is about winning before your enemy destroys everything you care about." The aliens were beginning to understand that they had invited something very different from themselves to help fight their war. Back in the laboratory, Elena had successfully interfaced with the Devourer communication network. The alien scientists watched in fascination and horror as she began to understand their enemy's thoughts. "Incredible," she murmured as data flowed across her screens. "They really do share everything. Look at this, Dr. Zillmore. Every tactical adaptation, every weapon analysis, every strategic decision gets distributed to the entire fleet instantly." Zillmore peered at the data streams. "How does this help us?" Elena turned to him with an expression that reminded him uncomfortably of a predator that had just spotted prey. "Because now we know exactly what information they have. And more importantly, we know how to give them information that is not true." In another part of the base, human engineers were reverse engineering Devourer technology with methods that made the alien observers deeply uncomfortable. Instead of careful analysis and gradual understanding, the humans simply tore the devices apart to see how they worked. "Primitive but effective," commented Chief Engineer Rodriguez as he examined a Devourer power core. "They prioritize efficiency over elegance. Everything is designed to be mass-produced quickly." The Zephyrian engineer assigned to work with him watched in dismay as Rodriguez began modifying the power core with human tools. "Engineer Rodriguez, should we not study this more carefully before attempting modifications?" "Why?" Rodriguez asked, welding human components directly onto alien technology. "If it explodes, we learn something. If it works, we learn something else. Either way, we learn." The alien engineers were beginning to understand that humans approached technology the same way they approached war, with a willingness to break things in order to understand them. As the day cycle ended, the alien observers gathered to discuss what they had witnessed. The humans had learned more about the Devourers in one day than the combined galactic scientific community had learned in 3 years. But the price of that knowledge was becoming clear. The humans were not trying to understand the Devourers in order to coexist with them or find a peaceful solution. They were learning how to destroy them more efficiently. "I am beginning to wonder," said Dr. Zillmore to his colleagues, "if we have made a terrible mistake. These humans study war the way we study art. They seemed to genuinely enjoy the challenge of finding new ways to kill their enemies. Professor Keeltep agreed. They speak of deception and psychological warfare, as if these are normal tools of civilization. What kind of society produces such beings? Elder Vex 9 processed the day's observations. Perhaps the kind of society that can defeat the devourers. But what happens to the galaxy after they do? The aliens had no answers to that question. They only knew that their saviors were learning very quickly how to become something that might be worse than what they were trying to save the galaxy from. Outside, human ships continued to arrive at Zephyr Prime. Each vessel carried more soldiers, more weapons, and more specialists trained in the art of war. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity decided something needed to die. The first human attack began with a lie. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as false sensor readings appeared on every screen. To any observer, including the devourers, it looked like the human fleet was retreating in panic from the latest devourer advance. "Signal the fleet," Chen ordered. "Begin Operation Mockingbird." Throughout human space, automated distress beacons activated. Each one broadcast desperate messages about human colonies under attack, supply lines cut, and defense fleets in full retreat. The messages were designed to paint humanity as weak, frightened, and easily defeated. The devourers received these signals exactly as intended. Their hive mind processed the information and concluded that these new enemies were no different from all the others they had consumed. The mechanical fleet adjusted course to pursue what appeared to be fleeing human ships. They flew directly into the largest trap in galactic history, Lieutenant. Colonel James Rodriguez crouched in the ruins of a devourer processing facility on Kepler 442c. His Special Forces team had been on the planet for 3 weeks, living like rats in the wreckage of civilization. The mission was simple in concept but horrifying in execution. "Charges placed," reported Sergeant Kim through the comm system. "Fusion reactors will overload in 30 minutes. Rodriguez nodded as he watched devourer construction units rebuilding the facility above them. The machines had no idea that humans were hiding in the very foundations they were working to repair. "Remember," Rodriguez told his team, "we stay until the last possible second. The more of them that are here when this place goes up, the better." The alien observers monitoring human operations from a safe distance watched in horror as Rodriguez's team deliberately stayed in the blast zone far longer than any rational being would consider safe. They escaped with seconds to spare, leaving behind a fusion explosion that vaporized 3,000 devourer units and completely destroyed the facility. "This is madness," whispered Commander Velkas as he watched the tactical display. "They could have detonated the charges from a safe distance." Captain Webb smiled grimly. "Safe distances do not kill as many enemies. James knows exactly how long he can wait before the radiation becomes lethal. He pushed it right to the limit." Across the front lines, human forces were implementing tactics that made their alien allies deeply uncomfortable. When conventional weapons failed to penetrate devourer shields, human engineers simply built bigger explosions. When devourer adaptive systems learned to counter human tactics, the humans would completely change their approach overnight. The battle for New Singapore became legendary among human forces for all the wrong reasons. When the devourer fleet arrived expecting to fight a traditional space battle, they found the human defenders had abandoned their ships and hidden among the asteroids of the system's belt. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Shaw from her position inside a hollowed-out asteroid, "enemy fleet is moving into the gravity well. All units are in position." Admiral Chen reviewed the tactical situation from her hidden command ship. The devourers had deployed exactly as predicted, using their superior firepower to destroy the few human ships left as decoys. They had no idea that those ships were empty hulks filled with remote-controlled weapons. "Begin Phase 2, Chen ordered. The asteroid belt came alive with weapons fire. Thousands of hidden missile launchers opened fire simultaneously, from positions the devourers had never considered threats. The mechanical fleet found itself caught in a crossfire from every direction, their adaptive shields overwhelmed by the sheer volume of attacks. But the real horror began when the devourers tried to retreat. They discovered that the humans had seeded their escape routes with gravitational mines that pulled ships off course and into more hidden weapons. What should have been an orderly withdrawal became a nightmare of confusion and destruction. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the battle from the human research vessel, her instruments recording every detail of devourer responses to human tactics. She was learning how they adapted, how they communicated, and most importantly, how they made decisions under stress. Fascinating, she murmured as her screens showed devourer communication networks overloading with conflicting information. They are trying to process too many variables at once. The hive mind is actually working against them. The alien scientific observers found Elena's enthusiasm deeply disturbing. She watched the destruction of sentient machines with the same interest a biologist might show while studying bacteria. "Dr. Vasquez," asked Professor Keeltep nervously, "do you feel no compassion for the devourers? They are still thinking beings." Elena looked at him with genuine confusion. "Professor, compassion is what got your people killed. The devourers showed no mercy when they consumed your worlds. Why should I show them mercy when I am saving what is left of galactic civilization?" On the ground, human infantry were learning to fight devourer construction units in ways that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Instead of meeting the machines in open battle, they would strike from ambush, disable key components, and then fade away before reinforcements could arrive. Sergeant First Class Maria Santos led her squad through the ruins of a Zephyrian city, hunting for the communication relay that coordinated devourer construction efforts in the sector. They moved like shadows, using rubble and debris for cover in ways the mechanical minds could not predict. "Target acquired," Santos whispered, as they reached the heavily defended relay station. "Perimeter guards are positioned exactly where the manual said they would be." The human military had studied devourer behavior patterns with the same intensity their ancestors had once used to hunt dangerous animals. They knew how the machines moved, how they thought, and most importantly, how they could be fooled. Santos's squad attacked the relay station using tactics that would have horrified the pre-war galactic community. They used captured devourer identification signals to get close, then disabled the guards with electromagnetic pulse weapons before the machines could call for help. But instead of simply destroying the relay, they did something far worse. They reprogrammed it. "Package delivered," Santos reported as her team retreated. "Relay will begin broadcasting false construction orders in 10 minutes. Across the sector, devourer construction units began receiving orders to build defenses against attacks that would never come, in locations that served no strategic purpose. The hive mind's efficiency was turned against itself as resources were wasted on meaningless projects. The alien military observers were beginning to understand that humans did not simply want to defeat the devourers. They wanted to make the machines suffer, to experience the confusion and helplessness that the devourers had inflicted on organic life. "This is psychological warfare," observed Elder Vex 9 as he processed reports from across the front. "The humans are not just attacking devourer installations, they are attacking the devourer concept of reality." The campaign for the Helix Nebula demonstrated human tactical thinking at its most ruthless. When devourer forces moved to secure the nebula's rich mineral resources, they found human ships waiting for them. But these were not the advanced warships the machines expected. Instead, Admiral Chen had deployed the oldest, most primitive vessels in the human fleet. Ships that were barely capable of interstellar flight, armed with weapons that seemed laughably obsolete compared to devourer technology. "Sir," reported Commander Jackson from the bridge of a converted cargo hauler, "enemy fleet is moving to engage. They seem confused by our ship types." Chen smiled from her hidden position outside the nebula. "Perfect. Let them think we are sending our weakest ships because we have nothing left." The devourers attacked the human ships with typical mechanical efficiency, expecting an easy victory against such primitive opponents. Instead, they discovered that the cargo haulers were filled with fusion bombs, and the obsolete weapons were specifically designed to overload devourer shield systems. When the cargo ships began to detonate in pre-planned sequences, the devourer fleet found itself trapped in a chain reaction of explosions that turned the entire nebula into a weapon. The humans had turned their apparent weakness into the galaxy's largest minefield. "By the depths," whispered Ambassador Keel Ren as he watched the tactical display. "They sacrificed their own ships and crews just to create a trap." Captain Webb corrected him gently. "No, Ambassador. Those ships were empty except for the bombs, but we wanted the devourers to think we had sacrificed crews. It makes them overconfident for the next engagement." The alien observers were beginning to realize that humans thought about warfare in terms of campaigns, not individual battles. Every action was designed to set up the next action. Every victory was planned to make the next victory easier to achieve, but the cost of these victories was becoming clear. With each engagement, human forces became more efficient, more ruthless, and more comfortable with tactics that would have been unthinkable before the war began. The humans were not just defeating the devourers. They were learning to become something that might be even more dangerous than the machines they fought. And the galaxy was starting to understand that when the war ended, humanity would still be out there among the stars, armed with weapons, tactics, and a mindset that treated deception and ruthlessness as normal tools of civilization. The transformation began quietly in the research laboratories of Zephyr Prime. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before a mirror, examining the neural interface ports that had been surgically implanted behind her ears. The small metal discs allowed her to connect directly with captured devourer technology, processing information at speeds that would have been impossible for an unmodified human brain. "How do you feel?" asked Dr. Zilmore, his voice filled with concern and fascination. Elena turned her head, and Zilmore noticed that her eyes now held flecks of silver, a side effect of the quantum processors that enhanced her cognitive abilities. "I feel more efficient," she said simply. "I can understand devourer communication patterns in real time now. I can think like they think." The Zephyrian scientist's gills fluttered nervously. "Dr. Vasquez, are you still entirely human?" Elena considered the question with mechanical precision. "I am what humanity needs me to be. The old definitions of human and machine are becoming irrelevant." Across the base, similar transformations were occurring throughout the human military. Soldiers volunteered for experimental procedures that enhanced their reflexes, their strength, and their ability to interface with alien technology. Each modification made them more effective killers, but at the cost of something indefinably human. General Patricia Armstrong reviewed the latest enhancement reports from her command center. The numbers were impressive. Reaction times improved by 300%. Tactical analysis capabilities increased by orders of magnitude. Psychological resistance to stress now exceeded anything recorded in human history. "General," said Colonel Martinez, her aide-de-camp, "the alien observers are requesting another meeting. They seem concerned about the modification program." Armstrong nodded without looking up from her reports. Martinez noticed that the general's movements had become more precise, more mechanical, since her own enhancement procedures. "Schedule it for later. We have more important priorities right now." The enhancement program had started as a practical necessity. Human soldiers needed to react faster than devourer combat units. Human pilots needed to process information at superhuman speeds to survive against mechanical opponents. Human commanders needed to think several steps ahead of a hive mind that could coordinate millions of units simultaneously. But somewhere along the way, the modifications had begun changing more than just human capabilities. They were changing how humans thought about themselves and their place in the galaxy. Chief Engineer Rodriguez had become the most modified human in the fleet. His body was now more machine than organic, his limbs replaced with mechanical appendages that could interface directly with any technology he encountered. When he worked on captured devourer equipment, it was sometimes difficult to tell where the human ended and the machine began. "Progress report," requested Admiral Chen as she toured the engineering sections of her flagship. Rodriguez turned to face her, and Chen noted that his eyes had been replaced with optical sensors that glowed softly in the dim light. "We have successfully integrated devourer shield technology with human weapon systems. Our new ships will be functionally immune to conventional energy weapons." Chen examined the hybrid technology that filled the engineering bays. Human creativity merged with devourer efficiency had produced weapons that surpassed anything either species had developed alone. "What about the propulsion systems?" "Even better," Rodriguez replied, his voice now carrying electronic harmonics from his modified vocal cords. "We can move faster than any existing ship design, and the best part is that we understand how it works. We are not just copying their technology, we are improving it." The alien observers gathered an emergency session to discuss what they were witnessing. The humans were not simply fighting the devourers, they were becoming them, or perhaps becoming something even more dangerous. "Look at these reports," said Professor Keeltep, his tentacles writhing with anxiety. "Human soldiers are now requesting combat assignments against impossible odds. They seem to enjoy the challenge of fighting superior numbers." Elder Vex 9 processed the psychological profiles that human commanders had shared. The modification process appears to be eliminating human concepts of fear and mercy. They are becoming perfectly efficient killing machines. Commander Velkas studied videos of human forces in action. The movements were too precise, too coordinated. They fight like a hive mind now, but they retain individual creativity. They have combined the worst aspects of organic and mechanical intelligence. Ambassador Keel Ren spoke the question they were all thinking. What happens when they finish destroying the devourers? What happens when there are no more enemies for them to fight? The answer to that question was becoming apparent in the outer systems, where human forces had begun operating independently of galactic oversight. Reports filtered back of human units that had gone beyond their original missions, pursuing devourer remnants with a dedication that bordered on obsession. Lieutenant Colonel James Rodriguez had not returned to base in 3 months. His Special Forces unit had been tracking a damaged devourer scout ship through the outer darkness, following a trail that led deeper into unexplored space with each passing day. "Sir," reported Sergeant Kim, her own voice now carrying the electronic undertones of neural enhancement. "The target has stopped transmitting. It may have finally shut down." Rodriguez studied the scanner readings with eyes that could process electromagnetic spectrum far beyond original human vision. "No, it is trying to hide. But we know how it thinks now. We know where it will go." His team had been modified beyond recognition. They no longer needed sleep in any conventional sense, their bodies sustained by a combination of human metabolism and mechanical systems. They could survive in vacuum for hours, their enhanced physiology adapted for the realities of space warfare. They were no longer entirely human, but they were supremely effective. The pursuit of the damaged devourer had become something beyond military necessity. It had become a hunt, driven by an almost primal need to ensure that no enemy escaped justice. The modifications that made them better soldiers had also awakened something older and more primitive in human nature. Back on Zephyr Prime, Dr. Elena Vasquez made a discovery that would have horrified her pre-war self. While analyzing captured devourer memory cores, she had learned to think like the machines. More than that, she had begun to enjoy it. "Dr. Zillmore," she called as her colleague entered the laboratory. "I have decoded the location of the primary devourer construction facility. We can destroy their entire manufacturing capability." Zillmore approached carefully. Elena's recent behavior had become increasingly unsettling to the alien scientists. "That is excellent news. How do we proceed?" Elena turned to face him, and Zillmore saw that her smile had become something cold and mechanical. "We do not destroy it immediately. First, we modify their construction protocols. We make them build weapons that will turn against their own forces. Then when they realize what we have done, we destroy everything." The Zephyrian scientist felt a chill that had nothing to do with his aquatic biology. "Dr. Vasquez, is that not unnecessarily cruel? We could simply destroy the facility and achieve the same strategic result." Elena's enhanced mind processed his objection with mechanical efficiency. "Dr. Zillmore, cruelty is irrelevant. What matters is that when this war ends, no devourer technology will remain functional anywhere in the galaxy. Total victory requires total destruction of enemy capabilities." The transformation was not limited to individual humans. Human society itself was changing to support the war effort. Entire planets had been converted to weapons production. Children learned military tactics alongside mathematics. Art and literature now focused on themes of conflict and victory. The humans were becoming a civilization built around the concept of war, and they were becoming very good at it. Admiral Chen reviewed the latest reports from human intelligence operations throughout the galaxy. Her forces had infiltrated every major system, gathering information not just about the devourers, but about every other species as well. "Admiral," reported her intelligence chief, Commander Torres, "we now have complete tactical assessments for all galactic military forces. If necessary, we could defeat any combination of alien fleets within 6 months." Chen nodded approvingly. Torres had been one of the first to undergo full neural enhancement, and her strategic thinking now operated at superhuman levels. "Excellent. Knowledge is power, and power ensures survival." The alien observers had reached the same conclusion through their own analysis. Humanity was not just becoming capable of defeating the devourers, they were becoming capable of dominating the entire galaxy. "We have created a monster, whispered Ambassador Keel Ren as he reviewed the intelligence reports his own people had gathered. They study every species, analyze every weakness, prepare for wars that have not even been imagined yet. Elder Vex 9's computational matrices processed probability scenarios at maximum capacity. The humans will win the war against the devourers, but the victory will transform them into something the galaxy has never seen before. Professor Keeltep asked the question that haunted all their discussions. Should we try to stop them? While we still can? The answer was becoming obvious to anyone who understood what humanity had become. It was already too late. The humans had evolved beyond the point where conventional force could contain them. They had the final battle began in the heart of darkness itself. The Devourer home construct stretched across 3 solar systems, a mechanical nightmare of metal and circuitry that had consumed the matter of entire worlds to build itself. At its center lay the core consciousness, the original intelligence that had spawned the Devourer plague upon the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, but the ship itself was no longer recognizably human. The vessel had been rebuilt using Devourer technology, its hull a hybrid of organic neural networks and quantum processing matrices. Like its crew, the ship had evolved beyond its original nature. Fleet status, Chen commanded, her voice carrying electronic harmonics from the neural interfaces that now comprised most of her brain. All vessels ready for final assault, reported Commander Torres. Her body was more machine than flesh now, her consciousness distributed across multiple processing nodes to handle the complexity of coordinating a hybrid fleet. Human Devourer integration is complete on all ships. Chen studied the tactical display with enhanced senses that could process information at superhuman speeds. Her fleet numbered only 200 vessels, but each ship incorporated the best of human creativity and Devourer efficiency. They were predators hunting the ultimate prey. Begin the approach, she ordered. The human fleet moved through space with mechanical precision, but their attack patterns showed a creativity no pure machine could match. They adapted constantly, learning from each defensive response, evolving their tactics in real time. The core consciousness detected the approaching threat and responded with the full might of the Devourer military. Millions of mechanical units moved to intercept the human ships, their hive mind coordinating a defense that should have been impossible to penetrate. It was not enough. Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent 3 years learning to think like a devourer. Now connected directly to the quantum communication networks of her ship, she could anticipate the hive mind's responses before they occurred. Her enhanced consciousness moved through devourer information systems like a virus, corrupting data and spreading false instructions. I am inside their decision matrix, she reported, her words transmitted directly through neural interface. The core consciousness is trying to adapt to our attack patterns, but I am feeding it flawed data. It is making tactical errors. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships fought with devourer weapons, while devourer units turned against their own forces due to corrupted command codes. The boundary between attacker and defender became meaningless as both sides used identical technology. Chief Engineer Rodriguez had become something that defied classification. Part human, part machine, part something entirely new. His consciousness existed simultaneously in his modified body and in the engineering systems of the entire fleet. He could feel every weapon firing, every shield taking damage, every system adapting to enemy countermeasures. Admiral, he reported through direct neural link. Enemy adaptive protocols are failing. The core consciousness cannot process our hybrid nature. It cannot determine if we are organic or mechanical threats. Chen smiled with enhanced facial features that moved with mechanical precision. Then it is time to teach it the answer. The human fleet penetrated the outer defenses of the home construct, using tactics that combined human creativity with machine efficiency. They fought like organisms when fighting machines would fail, and fought like machines when organic tactics were insufficient. Lieutenant Colonel James Rodriguez led the final assault on the core consciousness itself. His Special Forces team had been so heavily modified that they could survive in vacuum, interface directly with alien technology, and process information at speeds that rivaled the hive mind itself. Charges placed on the primary processing nodes, he reported as his team moved through the mechanical corridors of the construct. But Admiral, I am reading something unusual. Report, Chen commanded. The core consciousness is not trying to stop us anymore. It is trying to understand us. I think it realizes what we have become. Deep in the heart of the construct, the original devourer intelligence contemplated the nature of its opponents. These humans had done something unprecedented. They had merged organic creativity with mechanical efficiency without losing either capability. They had become something new. The core consciousness sent a final transmission before the human charges detonated. You have defeated us by becoming us. But in doing so, you have become something the galaxy cannot control. We were a plague. You are evolution itself. The explosion that destroyed the core consciousness sent electromagnetic pulses throughout the construct. Devourer units across 3 solar systems simply stopped functioning as their guiding intelligence ceased to exist. The war was over, but the victory celebration in the galactic capital was muted by a growing awareness of what had been created to achieve it. Ambassador Keel Ren watched the returning human fleet through the observation ports of the council station. The ships moved with perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with hybrid technology that seemed to shift and adapt even as he watched. They saved us, he said quietly to his fellow delegates. But what have they become? Admiral Chen's flagship docked with the station, but the being who walked off the ship was barely recognizable as the human who had first appeared in the council chambers years before. Her body had been rebuilt with mechanical components, her mind enhanced with quantum processors, her very nature transformed by the war she had fought. The devourer threat has been eliminated, she announced to the assembled delegates. Her voice carried harmonics that suggested vast computational power behind each word. All devourer technology has been destroyed or assimilated. The galaxy is safe. Elder Vex 9 processed the implications of that final word. Assimilated, Admiral? Chen turned optical sensors that had replaced her original eyes toward the synthetic delegate. Human forces have integrated useful devourer capabilities while eliminating the aggressive programming. We now possess the best aspects of both organic and mechanical intelligence. The delegates exchanged nervous glances. The humans had not simply defeated the devourers, they had absorbed them, learned from them, and become something that incorporated their most dangerous capabilities. Admiral Chen, said Professor Keeltep carefully, what are humanity's intentions now that the war is over? Chen considered the question with mechanical precision, while her enhanced mind processed thousands of variables simultaneously. Humanity will ensure that no threat like the devourers can ever arise again. We will maintain order in the galaxy. The word maintain carried implications that made every delegate uncomfortable. The humans were not offering to help maintain order. They were stating that they would control it. Dr. Elena Vasquez joined the conference, her presence immediately detectable to the enhanced senses of other modified humans, but appearing normal to alien observation. She had become something that could pass for either human or machine depending on what the situation required. The galactic civilization you knew was ending, she said with the directness that enhanced cognition made possible. The old ways of thinking, the old limitations, the old weaknesses that made the devourer threat possible, all of that must change. Commander Velkas found his voice. Are you saying humanity intends to rule the galaxy? Chen and Vasquez exchanged a communication that occurred too quickly for organic minds to follow. We are saying that humanity will guide galactic development to prevent future existential threats. Your species will be protected, but under our supervision. The truth was becoming clear to all the delegates. Humanity had saved the galaxy by becoming something that could dominate it completely. They had evolved beyond the point where other species could challenge them, and they had no intention of returning to their original limitations. What if we refuse this guidance? Asked Ambassador Keel Ren. Chen turned her enhanced attention to him, and Keel Ren felt the weight of superhuman intelligence focusing on his words. Ambassador, you called for monsters to save you from monsters. You got exactly what you asked for. The only question now is whether you want us as protectors or conquerors. The choice was no choice at all, and everyone in the chamber knew it. Humanity had become capable of imposing their will on the entire galaxy. The only decision left was whether that imposition would be benevolent or aggressive. We choose protection, Keel Ren said quietly, speaking for a civilization that had lost its independence in the process of gaining its survival. Chen nodded approvingly. A wise choice. Human protection will be absolute. No species will suffer as yours did under the devourers, but no species will threaten galactic stability either. As the human delegation departed, the alien representatives remained in stunned silence. They had survived the Devourer War, but their civilization as they had known it was over. In its place was something new, a galaxy guided by beings who had evolved beyond the limitations that had once made them peers. Outside the station, human ships moved through space with mechanical precision and organic adaptability. They carried weapons that could destroy worlds and minds that could outthink any opposition.